Tony, I can't imagine that you haven't been dying a little bit inside as you get makeup here, that you have had to wait here for a little while with the group to talk about the idea of Jon Bones Jones winning a fight with a spinning leg kick to Stipe's body. That just... when you knock out, or I guess it wasn't a knockout because he only went down.
TKO, Dan.
Yeah, when you knock down somebody with the pedigree of Stipe.
Stipe's still at it, huh?
He is, yes.
Not anymore.
Yeah, probably not after
Really?
that. But,
hung him up? I mean,
He did, actually. He hung him up.
I can't... I cannot think of a more graceful way to feel like you've won a fight than with a spinning leg kick. That's using the three largest muscles in the body, the quad, the hamstring, and the glute, to take someone out with your foot because you're so good at what you do that you can take out a giant dude to the body with your foot that way.
Not only that, he had tried it earlier in the fight, and it had landed a little bit closer to the thigh. So he's like, oh, wait a second, I can do this again because he's not going to suspect it again. And then when he did it, we saw Stipe's entire like left side just kind of cave in. Ooh. And then I was trying to do the math. I was like, is the liver on that side? Is the liver on the other side? Was it a liver shot? Was it not?
No, he'd be in the hospital if it was on the other side.
Luckily, it wasn't the liver, but he did lacerate his kidney and his spleen and broke ribs with that back spinning kick.
I honestly, and this is not a sarcasm or a joke, I would rather just get knocked out cold than experience that kick. That looked so painful.
Chris, would you rather get kicked like that or get hit by Ray Lewis coming across the middle?
Ooh.
With pads?
Take Ray Lewis. That kick looked like you lose your air, your ribs are broken. Like, that to me looked as painful as anything in fighting.
How about Derrick Henry getting a 20-yard head of steam and you have to tackle him?
Ooh, no, I'm not doing that. That doesn't hurt, though.
Oh, it has to hurt.
Guys.
Are you kidding me?
Guys, a heavyweight went down and to the hospital with broken stuff that doesn't break when Derrick Henry runs over you or when Ray Lewis hits you over the middle. Like when you get, I don't think you guys know what it is that knockout was, or not. I keep calling it a knockout, even though it's a TKO.
It's a fine.
The idea
it's a technical knockout, so yes.
Thank you. Yes.
You're welcome.
The idea that you would start a kick, I've learned so much about like how the body on athletes are connected and the amount of strength that a pitcher gets from his feet so that the ball is whiplashed at 104 miles an hour from his hand. And that kick, which starts in the floor in Jon Bones Jones's ridiculously strong base, for him to break ribs on that dude's body when he's just perfectly timing, hitting him with the foot in a way that none of us would think would break ribs looking at it, correct? Like, you don't know until Stipe goes down how much that actually hurts.
Yeah, because it happens so fast, right, that you see it and you're like, oh my God, he got him. But then once you see the slow-mo, and obviously everything is worse in slow-mo, you see like this side of his body just kind of like go sideways and you're like, ooh, there's stuff there that doesn't move. So the way that moved on slow-mo wasn't great. The thing is, Jon has so many different things, right? So many different weapons to attack. He's got great feet. He's got great hands. He's got length. And that was some of the part with Stipe where he was trying to get in the pocket with Jon and box and stand on the feet. But the issue is Jon is so long that he would just put his arms out and kind of just like paw at him. Like, no, that jab's not going to work. I'm hitting this. And then all of a sudden, Stipe's like, all right, I got to get in. He got clinched against the fence. And then, bam, that spinning back kick.
He does that so much with the pawing that he eye gouges, and people hate him because of how much he eye gouges doing that pawing stuff.
I just watched the video right now. Stipe has two right hips now. He knocked his hip to the other side.
You guys would agree that it's totally unsatisfying to see one of those fights end with somebody getting down on a body shot, correct? Like, I imagine that you guys want headshots as people who are just looking for bloodlust.
I think generally I agree with you, but that one in particular looked so painful that I was like just impressed with it.
He has two right hips.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Mm-hmm. See, like what the hip, we hit him so hard, the hip ended up on the
shifted to the other side.
Two of them.
Yeah. Tony, how often do you see a fight ended with a spinning leg kick?
It's rare. Spinning leg kicks are rare. There's been spinning elbow, spinning backhands that have worked too. But again, the majority of people don't have the capability or the body strength and control to try those and even more so knock people out with those shots, right? Like those have to be super sniper level, like precision perfect.
Well, you're leaving yourself. You're turning your back to a
Exactly,
heavyweight.
exactly.
Like, you gotta be careful.
Yeah, you miss. That's your
You
ass.
missed. There's another one coming back at you, and then all of a sudden you're waking up like, what happened? Oh, you did the spinning back kick, and the guy kicked you in the back of the head. Shar Bullet Nurmagomedov, who had a double spinning elbow, right? So he went this way with an elbow with his left over, and then the guy kind of dodged it, but then he came back around with his right. On the same one. It was incredible.
Can I go around the room and have everyone try to say that name that you just said? Don't
Khabib's
repeat
brother.
it. Don't repeat it. Don't repeat it.
I wasn't listening though.
Khabib's brother,
Yeah, neither
right?
was
Did I
I.
say that right?
Yeah, it's not his brother, but
Okay, Khabib's relative.
down the line, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Stugotz. You try first.
I didn't hear the name.
That's fine. Just try first.
He could say it again. Stugotz.
No, well, that's true, but I don't want
Khabib.
No, it's his brother. You weren't listening to that
relative.
part either.
Kaboob?
Oh, names that connote.
Boobs?
Well, actually, since you said that, thank you. I mean, top five. Time now for top five. Stugotz's list of top five athletes who still connote penis. Is that what you're going to do again? You
Oh,
did
we
that
got to save this for
yesterday?
the big show.
This is the big show.
What?
The other show is the lesser show. This is the big show. What do you have here? Top five things.
They're just people in sports and what their names would be if they were a penis.
I like it.
Chubby Smith. James Hardon. I'm nervous.
Nervous.
Yeah.
Is it because of how everyone is just staring at you?
Penis Ellison. Nervous.
Wow. Penis Slaughter. Evan Schlongoria. Schlongo. You want more?
I don't. Where are we? Is that number two, or are we still on OLIs?
Dickie Thong.
It's uncomfortable.
You want more?
Yes.
Where are we?
Bernhard Wenger.
I think I'm good.
Luol Dong.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
Luol Dong.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for war, man, forget my peace. We take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put them in a cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but man's keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. Right girls, let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
I don't know about the rest of you, but over the last 4 years, right about when the pandemic started, I feel like we started all as a group noticing more that people are just generally selfish.
Robert Package. Thank you.
I don't feel like it deserved the fanfare. Robert Package. Was he working real hard on that for the last 24 hours?
Tommy Johnson.
Mark Bolger.
Oh, wow.
George Foreskin.
Oh, wow. Hey.
Penis freedom.
Taylor Gooch.
Oh! Sorry.
Since the start of the pandemic, I feel like people have been takers more than, or it's been more overt that people are selfish. So I'm telling you today, on the one day a year in Miami where people are really encouraged to give. GiveMiamiDay.org, which is a day in which all of your donations are 100% tax deductible, and there are an assortment of charities that can help locally that are doing really good and important work to underserved communities. I am recommending to everybody listening to this to partake in GiveMiamiDay.org, and just an easy way to help if you have some disposable income, because Dave Lawrence, the former publisher of the Miami Herald back in the days when that meant something to be a publisher of a newspaper, has been doing good and charitable work in this community, like giant work for a long time to help people. And I just want to put it in front of everybody and our audience, because this money does go to a lot of good causes. And I wanted to ask the group, because I was watching last night, and it was a history lesson that me and I think Stugotz and Amin lived, maybe Roy too, but I don't know about the rest of you. When I asked Tony and Chris and Jessica and Jeremy, when I ask you guys what you think of Ted Turner, the name Ted Turner, what do you know, or what do you think you know about the name Ted Turner? It's okay to not know anything here. This particular documentary that I'm talking about on Max is about an old person that interviews a whole bunch of old people, but Amin and Stugotz and I know that this person, among other things, invented cable television. And so I don't know what you guys know about the name Ted Turner or what it means to you. So can anyone give me an idea of what working knowledge you have on something that has already become history, even though it was happening in the 80s?
I had Turner Sports, so you said the one thing I knew.
I had Ted Bundy. Wrong Ted.
The Atlanta Braves.
Do you want a serious answer?
I just want to
I was
know
gonna
what
go
you
with a
guys
bit.
know.
I mean, I majored in television in college, so yes, I know who Ted Turner is.
Okay, okay, but let's see here.
Thank you.
I don't think that you. Congratulations.
Look at me, Louie. That's the one I was looking
well,
for.
Well, fanfare is what she deserved.
I thought that was a penalty box.
Majoring in television in college. Yes, but there are a lot of other things that he did that made him uniquely ahead of his time. He also invented the Goodwill Games. But in terms of aspirations and what it is that he had, he was looking in very real ways to end nuclear threat and feed all children. Like, in terms of ambition, his ambitions were giant. Owning the Braves was very small. He gave $1 billion to UN-related charities because he was so aggressive about trying to legitimately make the world a better place.
Did he also want to pay the teachers and save the whales? I mean...
he saved the bison.
Did he really?
He saved an entire species of animal.
Wow.
Yes. He did giant things. He was way ahead on climate change and everything else. And the reason I bring all of it up is as watching him and this documentary, which it's got some fat in places and it is slow if you have an attention span that needs perpetual stimuli. But the things that he was doing were enormously groundbreaking in a number of different ways, but giving in the way that I'm asking the audience to do on GiveMiamiDay.org was at the center of almost everything that the man was doing. And it's a level of ambition that seems totally insane, because it's not like he was a brilliant man, but he was continually betting his fortune on these giant bets. And the reason I bring it all up is because, my God, would he be wounded by what's happened to CNN? Like CNN, which came into the forefront because they were covering a war better than the major news networks as he was trying to fight his way into the television game. And again, Stugotz would get it like $500 million in debt, and you'd be like, how does that person sleep at night? How do you sleep at night with $500 million in debt? I suppose we could probably ask the next president of our country, who has bankrupted, 4 to 6 places.
Is that money even real at that point? Like, oh, I owe $500 million. Ooh, what are you going to do? You going to come get it?
Sure. Let's do a payment plan. Like, come on.
You got $1 million a year for the next 500 years.
I feel like if someone owes you $500 million, you kind of messed up. You're the one that messed up, not the guy who's owes the money.
You're never seeing that
You're
money
never
again.
seeing that money
Right.
again.
Yes.
You got. At some point, maybe after the first $100 billion, you should have said, "Okay, let's slow down."
He paid everyone back.
Did he?
Yes, he managed to.
He
pay.
got out of debt.
Sucker.
He managed to pay everyone back by winning the bet. He was worth $10 billion at one point because he made cable television matter. And not only would he be mortified by what's happening at CNN, my guess is he's mortified by cable television collapsing too, because a whole bunch of things are falling apart all around us.
How about the Braves? I mean,
Be happy about that.
the Dodgers are dominating. I mean,
He'd be generally happy about where it is the Braves were last year.
good.
Talking about him like he's dead.
Yeah, they threw me off. I had to Wikipedia it. Like, is he still with us?
He is
$50 fine.
No, Dan means his mental faculties. Obviously, maybe not all the way there. He's an older person.
Well,
Would
that's
be shocked.
spoiler alert. It ends. It's sad in that regard, where age comes and grabs us all. But yes, he is not yet dead. I'm sorry, I was speaking as if I was eulogizing him. I was just watching a documentary about his life that Jessica didn't need because she majored in television. In
That's
college.
right.
He was married to Jane Fonda, Dan.
He was, yeah.
That's correct.
But they got divorced.
You guys remember Jane Fonda? Had the fitness tapes with aerobics?
Remember, Jane? She's still out doing stuff.
She's not dead either.
She
Barbarella.
she was in 80 for Brady a mere 2 years
that's
ago.
right. She was in 80
She's on
for
TV
Brady.
all the time.
Is she on TV all the time?
Yeah.
I won't say all the time.
Fonda Sports is totally different.
Put it on the poll, please.
I'm fond of sports.
Is Jane Fonda on television all the time? Were you guys aware? I was not aware until yesterday that Denzel Washington said that he's been sober for 10 years, that he used to drink 2 bottles of wine a day.
I was not aware he had a drinking problem.
Man, making that movie Flight must have been something.
Yeah.
'Cause that was an alcoholic palate that he was playing in that movie.
I'm drunk right now.
He
What a
did-
scene.
10 years he was drinking sober for 10 years and was drinking 2 bottles of wine. But the next choices that Denzel is making, he's doing Black Panther. He's doing Gladiator. He says that in Gladiator he kissed a man full on the lips and it was cut out of the movie. He said apparently people aren't ready for Denzel Washington to kiss a man on the lips. And he's also doing, and forgive me for forgetting this, I should know it, it's almost like a just giant man violation, his famous action franchise.
Equalizer?
Equalizer.
Damn, come on.
I know, my bad. I felt terrible.
He
Just saw 3
apologized.
over the weekend.
I know, but he apologized front end. I mean,
3 has a lot of subtitles.
3 has a lot of subtitles. It's in Italian. He's in a beautiful spot over in Positano where he has to go and make sure that the mob isn't doing the things that they're doing to all the small
To
businesses.
all the local people.
Exactly.
Like he just happened to be there and he didn't like how the mob was treating all the local people. I like 3. 3 was actually
too.
pretty good.
Is that the one with the hurricane?
No, that's 2.
That was a ridiculous.
He's fighting the Russian mob in that one in a hurricane.
That was a ridiculous ending to that movie.
What?
Him fighting in a hurricane? Like, come on.
what's wrong with that?
Come on. I mean, anyway, what I was saying is he's doing 4 and 5.
Thank God.
He has signed up for 4 and 5 because he's capitalizing on this recent trend where he's like, well, wait a minute. If all the action heroes get to be 50, 60, and 70, I'm a giant movie star. And I don't know if he's going to make any of those in Italy, but it seems like Denzel Washington makes a lot of choices because he just wants to spend a lot of time in Italy, where I'm guessing he was getting some of those 2 good bottles of wine that were giving him a problem before 10 years ago. But you're excited about all of these moves because we can agree, right, that if we were making a list of top 10 movie stars of all time, Denzel Washington is on it. Top 10 all time.
Oh, without question. I think everyone would put Denzel in their top 10 actors of all time, for sure.
Top 3 probably.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Dan, I'm surprised that you went with Denzel used to drink 2 bottles of wine a day when one of the other things he revealed in that interview was, I used to shoot dope. He was on the heron. That's shocking. Wine? 2 bottles of wine? Look, hey.
A lot of people doing that.
Right.
Shooting H.
I mean, Popovich is doing that.
Look, hey, I'm drunk right now. But doing hard drugs, I don't know. Maybe this is my naivete, but no, Denzel would never do hard drugs. That guy, like, he's straight and
Family
narrow.
man.
Family man, right?
wait a minute, what is Amin doing? Because Amin got really mad at me one day when I said, I can't imagine Tua doing a whole lot of bad stuff off the field. And Amin was like, that's ridiculous. Why would you assume that anybody's public persona is a real thing? And you got mad at me, but Denzel you're willing to buy on.
Denzel's different.
Yeah,
but he did heroin.
He also did heart condition.
Yeah, but
that's
bile.
But we're reading that about Denzel, whereas we're speculating about Tua.
Yeah, I mean, it's Denzel who's revealing that to us now after all these years. But that was, I mean, that to me was the most shocking thing that came out of that. Not, I used to be an alcoholic or whatever.
The most shocking thing to come out of the last 10 minutes to me is when you all agreed vigorously on top 3, top 5, top 10. I saw a single raised eyebrow in the back row.
You better not.
Of cynicism and
you better not.
She wanted to speak
Who
into
is it?
existence.
Who is it?
He
said she.
I was
said she.
I was going to say Roy. I mean,
Willow.
Willow, that was disrespectful. Denzel's he's like slightly older than the movies that I connected with in my 20s.
You don't have
He's a
to
little too
apologize
old.
for this.
He's 70. Actually, he's 69. Nice.
she has Glenn Powell in her top 10. I mean,
No, I don't. But maybe
do.
someday. Top 10 from the summer.
someday
for sure.
soon.
I do wonder, is this generational, or do we have to take the history of the movies, right? Because not a whole lot of people talking about this are going to mention the Rock Hudsons and the Clark Gables and the people from a million years ago.
You just made up names.
So how old? Well, but how old? How long before Denzel Washington's a made-up name? Because he's only like 30 years after them, where he starts, and so to a generation, at some point, Denzel Washington's gonna be Clark Gable and Rock Hudson.
I majored in film, so I know who Clark Gable is.
Yeah.
Gone with the Wind. Come on.
Clark Cable.
That's
Ted Turner.
Ted Turner.
Bring it all back. Yeah.
Majored
Well
in-
done.
in television.
I have here IMDb's top 10 actors of all time, and I will tell you, Denzel comes in. This is just actors, not actresses. He comes in right at 10 on their all-time list.
I'd like to
of
hear who they have
Yeah,
above
it's low.
Denzel.
Yeah, yeah.
Do it,
Tell me
do it
who
backwards.
they got.
Do it backwards. Do it upside.
9
Do it
or
from
1 to
10 to 1. And why is it just men? Like,
Well, I think I could
they
have done
do
actresses,
as a
and I
different
put
list.
actors
all right.
here.
So, but I was movie stars is what I was looking for. Just movie star names. But okay, let's do actors.
Number 9, Paul Newman.
Fuck out of
Number
here.
8, Anthony
The
Hopkins.
salad guy.
Salad dressing.
Number 7, Tom Hanks. Number 6, Dustin Hoffman.
No.
Stugotz is going to like the next one. Number 5, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh,
Number 4, Adnan's going to like this one, Al Pacino. Adnan will also like number 3, Robert De Niro. Number 2, Marlon Brando.
that's an Adnan pick also.
And number 1, Jack Nicholson.
Wow.
Jack Nicholson.
Terrible
One?
Terrible list.
No Stallone.
And it says the actors are on this list are ranked according to their lifetime success, along with acting skills, versatility, and role transformation.
Yeah, Jack Nicholson really does role transformation. Every single act I do goes like this, and I'm Jack Nicholson, and I don't actually have to do anything else but do this thing right here, and I do my eyebrows, and then I die, and a rat comes around, and all of a sudden we win an Oscar.
I take back what I said. He's definitely on my list. I forgot about Remember the Titans.
There we go.
I don't know how, but my parents took me to see that in theaters. A little young for that movie.
Didn't an
I was
NFL
like
team
4.
just do the celebration that they didn't remember the Titans in the end zone where they do the what was the team that just did that a couple of
I
weeks
thought it was the
ago?
Chiefs. Didn't DeAndre Hopkins do it?
Was it the Chiefs? Was it the Falcons?
I thought that was from the replacements.
No, it was from Remember the Titans. What was it? Was just the.
It was
even know what
DeAndre
the hell they're
Hopkins.
called.
Yeah,
I'm
he
seeing
did
here.
it. Yes.
DeAndre Hopkins with the Chiefs.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because he was on the Titans, so
'Cause
he's
he was
remembering
the Titans.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
That would have been the easy way. Like, I don't know, what is that called where it is that you have cues for your memory to help you
Mnemonic
on things?
device.
That would have been
Memory cues.
It would
Johnny
have been,
Mnemonic.
How
We talked
can I-
about that on Tuesday. Dan doesn't like Keanu Reeves. He's on my list.
How can I not Remember the Titans when he was doing Remember the Titans, and he used to be a Titan, and he's the only relevant thing from the Titans that has happened this entire season. And I had all the clues there, and I still forgot. One of the funny things that happened in the Ted Turner documentary, he didn't mean to do this, but he was talking about, and this is happening to me now, his memory loss issues, and he was like, I have Alzheimer's, and I don't remember the name of the other one. And he wasn't joking.
Oh, wow, that's tough.
He was saying that's what he was saying.
Wow.
Good joke, though.
Well, he didn't mean it as a joke.
Yeah, but it would have been funny, though.
Then he started laughing at himself. I would recommend, again, if you don't like Slow and Old, I will not recommend this. But if you just want a history lesson on a fairly amazing person, I would strongly recommend this documentary because it's just moving to see someone care so much about peace and giving, and it's hurtful to see someone losing so badly in this modern age when he was warning us 40 years ago of what it is that was headed this way. Related to movies, Amin says that, and I don't know why he says this, but I did hear everybody all of a sudden in the Stugotz wheelhouse of talking about Rocky, which is the only movie Stugotz ever wants to talk about.
It's a good one.
Saying that the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight resembled to him Rocky VI. Jessica, you did not major in Rocky in college. You have admitted that you've never seen any of the Rocky movies, correct?
Not a single one, Dano.
So explain how it is, to the people who do not know what Rocky is, why it is that Jake Paul and Mike Tyson felt to you like Rocky VI.
Okay, first of all, people know what Rocky is. They may not know the details of Rocky VI. They know what Rocky is, but
They know the premise.
They know the premise. But in Rocky VI, which is called Rocky Balboa, actually, it's technically not Rocky VI. Rocky is an old, kind of like Mike Tyson. He's like retired, but
Past
everybody
his
knows.
prime.
Not even past his prime. He's an old man who's retired, but everybody knows who he is. He's got a restaurant, and we'll go to the restaurant. They love Rocky. And so there's this hot new young boxer named Mason the Line Dixon, right? Because writing,
Great name, by the way.
Writing
So
is
good.
superb on this movie.
Yes.
And they do the thing, I think it's actually Max Kellerman, because they have ESPN in the movie, where they're doing the thing with, well, how good would he be against the greats of past? Like, I don't know, Rocky. And so they make this whole simulation on like NBA 2K where he fights against Rocky and he wins, and then Rocky kind of takes a little offense to that. I was like, I don't think it would go down like that. And next thing you know, Rocky's coming out of retirement. He's training to fight Mason the Lion Dixon, who's in his prime. And it's a great fight. I think Mason Dixon wins, right?
Yes.
He wins, right? But it's like also, it's not like a knockout or anything.
No, he won on the card.
Everyone praises Rocky for like basically an old man not getting your ass knocked out. And I was like, holy shit, that's exactly what happened. They literally just lifted the entire plot from Rocky VI for this fight because we did simulations and we said, he's going to kill him and all this stuff. And all the old people were like, Rocky's going to win. All the young people were like, it's impossible. And then we get in the ring and it's like, all right, like he's not going to win, but also he's not going down. He's taking these headshots like a champ. So I just wondered, like, why didn't anyone connect those dots at any point in this process? And then Roy tells me, I did. And he showed me the tweet that he did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. I made that joke right in the middle of the fight. Like, this is a worse performance than Rocky Balboa did with Mason the Lion Dixon.
When I knew things were cooked is not when he walked into the ring and was a little slow or whatever. When they panned over to Mike about to walk out and he had a knee brace on, I was like, ooh, that's a bad look. You can't wear the knee brace. Nobody wears the knee brace.
You got to limp in.
You gotta just pretend.
Without the brace.
Gotta go without the brace.
You have to.
One of my favorite things from that fight was Roy Jones saying, I don't like his legs. And I know what he was doing. Someone was like, he's just repeating the same thing. I was like, you know what he's doing? Roy will know this from Cinephobe. He's doing Cobra formula because he wants someone to say, what's wrong with his legs? And then he would explain, but nobody took the bait. So he just kept saying, I don't like his legs. And everyone just kept sitting around like, all right, cool, you don't like his legs.
I noticed during that fight the importance of broadcasting chemistry when they throw it to Rosie Perez and she'd just say, that's right. and then there'd just be this silence sitting there because she wasn't.
They were expecting more.
Well, she knows boxing. It was a matter of chemistry between the participants and talking at the right time and not wanting to, not that there was much action, but not wanting to be talking over action. You mentioned Mason the Lion Dixon as a great name. What
Line, not lion.
Line. Mason Dixon
It's like
line.
the Mason Dixon line. There you go.
Forgive
Not
me.
the Mason Dixon Lion.
Thank you. Mason.
Lioness.
The Line Dixon. You guys mentioned that as a great name. What is right now regarded as the greatest name anywhere in sports?
The Glimmer Man.
I saw a nominee make an appearance this weekend during the Raiders-Dolphins game because Divine Diablo is a pretty...
He's incredible, Dan.
That's a real name.
It's a
Hold on.
pretty- it's a-
Divine Diablo?
Yes.
It's a pretty great name for a football player.
And he's an excellent linebacker. He's always in the right spot, always making a big tackle. Like, he's very good.
Is
white.
that as good a name as LSU's linebacker, the Honky Badger?
Ooh, Whit Weeks, number 40.
What do you guys have for me in terms of names across sports that you like? Stugotz has told me before that there are certain names that as soon as he hears them, he would sign that person to a quarterback contract without knowing anything else other than their name.
Jackson Dart, one of those names. Dallas Comegys, for me, was a power forward, early 80s, DePaul. My favorite sports name of all time.
It's a great name. Agreed. I'm just surprised that that's what you're going with.
I can't help it.
That's Jackson Dart. Okay, put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show, Juju. Better sports name, Jackson Dart or Dallas Comegys? Or also put up there Divine Diablo, because it's a strong...
Well, that's going to win, Dan.
It's a strong name, but it's a strong name for a linebacker. Also put Mason the Lion Dixon up there for me as well. Roy, you stop laughing at me for a second, because I got something for you right now here.
No.
We were surveilling and listening, and as we always are around here, while you were doing something the other day. And I also would recommend to the group, Ronan Farrow has a documentary on surveillance if you want to be really scared about how everything is listening to you right now, and we're all doomed in terms of how our information is going to be used against us shortly. But Roy, I was sent by sources, Meadowlark betrayers and infidels and traitors. They sent me something that happened with you the other day, and I would like to play it for the group. Do you have any idea what it is that I'm going to play for you? The Hockey Show, you can catch it every week whenever Roy feels like publishing, sometimes on Fridays. Do you have any idea what I'm about to play right now?
Well, whatever it is, it's bound to make fun of me. So why don't you go ahead?
Okay, let's do that real quick and then compare it to something Chris Cody did recently.
And the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver. And the gifting experts at oh my God. And the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect. Fuck you.
Been there.
You know, I'll start the entire paragraph over. Thanks, guys. I appreciate your support, and thank you. The Hockey Show every Friday. And the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect. Fuck you.
Now, which one's worse, that time or the time that we were listening and surveilling on Chris Cody as he was in another room? I believe.
Oh, great. We're doing this again.
I believe we tuned in live to this, and we're just watching him from a distance, if I recall. All right, don't edit it then, Mike.
And folks, during December, Sheets and Giggles is offering a killer deal. If you want to give something...
Tough one.
And folks, during December, these Sheets and Giggles is off... And folks, during December, Sheets and Giggles is offering a killer deal. If you want to give some sheety gifts to your friends and family. A buy one, get one half off deal with the code HOHOHO.
So unnatural.
H-O-H-O. Or if you just want to try the sheets for yourself, head to sheetsgiggles.com/Dan and use the code Dan. This Christmas, you can get 20% off your first order of Sheets and Giggles at
There's an F-bomb coming.
Oh.
He's talking to
Sheets and
himself.
Giggles. Guys, Sheets and Giggles is a game changer. I never used to care what I slept on in my bed. Sheets and Giggles. Guys, I am not someone who does this type of thing a lot. I'm not a salesy guy. But when I tell you that my life
Okay,
and
this
my
is
wife
painful.
are so much better now. My wife loves it. Sheets and Giggles insanely soft eucalyptus sheets are a perfect gift for your wife or husband this year. And it's a heady play. It's like
Speed bump.
I think we're getting somewhere. That was a decent one.
How did this turn on me? I thought we were laughing at Roy.
You went last. That's how.
You gotta use code ho ho ho.
Sheets and giggles.
That was my favorite part. When you're roiling in a lack of self-confidence, you're just falling apart, but you've got to summon televised broadcast energy, and you're not in the mood. You're not in the mood. You're
just broken at that point.
You're not in the mood. I want to hear it all again, but I also want to examine.
We do Roy's again?
No. Well, yeah, sure.
H-O-H-O-H-O-H-O.
Do Roy's first, but then I want to enjoy just Chris Cody trying and failing to summon authentic enthusiasm for the product he's selling.
And the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver. And the gifting experts at oh my God. And the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect. Fuck you. You know what I was talking about. Paragraph over.
We've all cursed at the copy before, though, right? I mean,
we've all done that noise where you're just like,
what did the copy do to you? The copy just sat there doing what it always does. The copy didn't do anything to you. That's just the articulation of total self-loathing.
But I like
You know what I was
that, and
talking
then the very silent is a very quiet fuck you. It's not an emphatic, it's not full of rage, it's just, you know what? You can go yourself.
Let's listen to this with Chris Cody. And again, I ask you simply to see where it is that he's trying to summon something that sounds authentic, but you can tell his enthusiasm is fake. All right, don't edit it then, Mike.
And folks, during December, Sheets and Giggles is offering a killer deal. If you want to give something.
tough one.
And folks, during December, these Sheets and Giggles is off. And folks, during December, Sheets and Giggles is offering a killer deal if you want to give some sheety gifts to your friends and family. A buy one, get one half off deal with the code ho ho ho.
So unnatural.
H-O-H-O-H-O. Or if you just want to try the sheets for yourself, head to sheetsgiggles.com/Dan and use the code Dan. This Christmas, you can get 20% off your first order of Sheets and Giggles at
There's an F-bomb coming.
Oh,
He's talking to
Sheets and
himself.
Giggles. Guys, Sheets and Giggles is a game changer. I never used to care what I slept on in my bed. Sheets and Giggles. Guys, I am not someone who does this type of thing a lot. I'm not a salesy guy. But when I tell you that my life
Okay,
and
this
my
is
wife
painful.
are so much better now. My wife loves it. Sheets and Giggles insanely soft eucalyptus sheets are a perfect gift for your wife or husband this year. And it's a heady play.
I think we're getting somewhere. That was a decent one.
glad we can make fun of Roy today.
I'd like to play for you guys, and I'm hoping I'm surprising all of you when I do this. We all know that Jim Harbaugh is unusual, and Jim Harbaugh has recently done a very easy, smart thing where he just says Justin Herbert is not only one of the best quarterbacks going today, he's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. It costs him nothing to say that.
Right.
It's just a good move, and everyone can talk about his quarterback and whether he is as great as Jim Harbaugh says he is or not.
Are you saying Jim doesn't believe what's coming out of his mouth?
I'm just saying that showing belief in your quarterback, maximum belief in your quarterback, is not anything that's going to cost him other than us thinking, oh, Jim Harbaugh is strange, which we already thought anyway. So it doesn't matter. He's just creating a discussion point that brings attention to his quarterback. And I'm actually of the belief that he has brought relief to his quarterback, who was the face of that franchise, and is kind of boring on purpose during interviews because it doesn't seem like he wants that. It seems like he just wants the ball. So Harbaugh comes in here, and he comes in over his quarterback, and he praises him this way. But even by the strange standards of Jim Harbaugh, and winning will cover up a lot of things, including corny, I am stunned by what happens at the end of this high five video in an NFL locker room. You guys tell me if you see the ending of this coming, because what breaks out in a celebration, you've just beaten Joe Burrow at his best. You are one of the best teams with one of the best records in the league. Jim Harbaugh is happy. This locker room is happy. This is not how I expected a locker room celebration in the NFL to end.
This could be one of the best high fives ever. Yeah. Give each other a high five.
He's a jolly good fellow, which nobody can deny.
20 CB. No one has sung that song since the 20th century, man.
But how did that locker room of players know that song? All of them.
That is
From
a big
watching
upset.
Clark Gable films. He also did this at Michigan, too. Like, they did this in the locker room after the national championship game, I'm pretty sure. This is just one of those Harbaugh things, like the who's got it better than us. They just do weird stuff. I don't know what to say.
You know, Harbaugh has taken your whole quarterbacks. Once they throw an interception, get off the field. He's taken it to the next level. Justin Herbert is not allowed to high-five anyone. He doesn't want him to hurt his hand. I mean, this guy, he is prepared for everything, Harbs.
For he's a jolly good fellow?
So strange. I'm with you, Dan.
Is it Little Caesar? Was that the movie with Edward G. Robinson?
I think so.
And then, like, he's like, he does this when they sing. Remember when they used to do this? He's like, hey, thanks, guys. Thanks, fellas. He'd do a little fish shake.
I'm trying to think of something that could have broken out older in the Chargers locker room from a retirement home in the 1970s, more than what broke out in For He's a Jolly Good Fellow.
Allow me to try. The Camptown ladies sing this song, doo-dah, doo-dah. The Camptown race is 5 times long, oh, the doo-dah day. Gonna run all night, gonna run all day. That?
I got it. Trailers for sale or rent, rooms to let, 50. That would have been old too. Come on.
Hang on, Sloopy. Hang on.
What happened there?
That one's
boy?
old.
What is that?
That's
That's
so old,
Ohio
I
State.
don't know.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think For He's a Jolly Good Fellow's older than all of these.
1862.
You guys are doing a very poor job of coming up with something better than For He's a Jolly Good Fellow.
Zippity-doo-dah.
That's not bad right there.
That's not older than For He's a Jolly Good Fellow.
It's
though.
not, but it's better than Trailers for Sale or Rent.
That's an old song.
It is, but your dad is the only one who sang it with that kind of intensity throughout the last 40 years of your life. Like that, I don't know how popular that song is for communal singing. Let me ask you guys this. That list of actors, greatest actors that Chris gave us, you guys did notice that Denzel snuck in at 10, but everyone else was white, right?
Yes.
Like, so, which made me feel like Denzel snuck in at 10 just because everyone else was white.
DEI.
It's like my top 10 list, but in reverse.
Jessica has a top 10 list of greatest actors ever as well.
And it's even wider. Number 10, Andy Serkis.
No.
The great British voice actor. Number 9, John Rhys Davies.
No.
The great British actor. He also played Gimli in Lord of the Rings. Number 8, Sean Bean.
Wait a second.
Of Game of Thrones. He also was Boromir in Lord of the Rings.
I'm sensing a trend.
Number 7, Viggo Mortensen. We all know Viggo Mortensen.
I've heard of him,
He's a great actor. He was also Aragorn in Lord of the Rings. Number 6, Sir Ian McKellen, one of our finest actors of all time, happened to play Gandalf in The Lord of the Rings. Number 5, Billy Boyd. We all know him from
Lord of the Rings?
Pippin in Lord of the Rings, yes, but he's been in some other movies as well, but he was also Pippin. Number 4,
Scotty.
Dominic Monaghan. He was in Lost, also played Mary in The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Number 3, Orlando Bloom. Pirates of the Caribbean, of course, also Legolas in Lord of the Rings.
Only on screen for like 10 minutes, right? Throughout the entire trilogy.
That's not true.
It is.
No, there's just no way
Look it
that's
up.
true.
Look it up.
Keep doing your race.
I mean,
Your
the
list.
Two Towers chase where they're hunting
good help there.
for the hobbits
Good
is
help.
more than 10 minutes alone.
The Camptown races are
You,
in my
you
head.
argue with her, you're wrong, and then you tell her to look it up.
No, I'm not wrong.
I just don't believe that could be true.
I'll look it up. How
He's
about that?
okay.
You're going to look it up?
He's part of the fellowship. I
And he
mean,
said, continue your race.
I think what you're confused about is that he's not on screen with Frodo, pretty much at all.
Keep doing your list. I'm going to look it up.
Number 2, Sean Astin, one of the greats. He played Rudy.
Digging a pool?
He was also Samwise Gamgee in The
played
Lord of the
Rudy.
Rings. And number 1, Elijah Wood. Frodo, the ring bearer. I love him so
North.
much. Best actor of all time.
Wood, the 5th anniversary. When is too early with the Christmas trees?
Now.
Pre-Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
No, you get a week before Thanksgiving, you're good.
No.
Right now? So you mean not right now?
Trees can go up this week.
Let's celebrate Thanksgiving first, and then we move to Christmas.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
I stand corrected. It was 10 minutes in the first movie, but across the trilogy, on screen for 30 minutes.
You're sitting down.
A lot of girth behind these coloring books.
That's the sound of Stugotz selling out our autographed coloring books. We are selling out as part of our 20-year celebration around here. We're introducing the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz's 20th anniversary jersey. It's a weird choice to enter the Christmas holidays selling a sleeveless garment, but here we are.
I mean, 20 years, I have been on fire. The last 20 years have put me in the Hall of Fame. Who would look worse in a tank top, me or you?
Okay, it's sleeveless garmentry that we're selling at LeBatardAF.com. It took us 20 years to make it. It looks just as bad on us as you would imagine. David Sampson specifically requested that Stugotz be in studio so that we could talk about his book. Stugotz just left to go do God Bless Football and an assortment of other assignments. Everyone here, everyone that you see here, everyone that you hear in the room today will be at this watch party tonight. Browns and Steelers at the Flanagan's. Flanagan's is one of our favorite in South Florida. We like the partnership and we love the restaurant. I think I love the restaurant almost more than I love the partnership, and I love the partnership because it helps the business. But I've loved Flanagan's since I was in college. It's a South Florida institution.
It's Flanagan's. It's Miller Lite. It's us. It's a good time. I mean, Steelers-Browns is going to be on. The Panthers are playing tonight. We're going to be watching everything. It's the Flanagan's on North Miami Beach, 13205 Biscayne Boulevard. They have plenty of parking. It's supposed to get a little chilly. Winter is here in South Florida. It's supposed to be like 65 tonight. So bring your sweaters, and we'll be out there. Come join us. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Dan, we're going to be so locked in. How many rib rolls are you going to have?
I'm hitting the nachos. I'm going to stay to
You know
the
you can
nachos.
order extra.
Maybe chicken wings. Yes, it's one of the fattest things. It is the fattest thing I've ever heard. Chris Cody knowing that you could get refills of nachos when they get light on the things that go on top. If you have, look at that. Jessica's just learning that about nachos. If you have just chips, you can send it back to the kitchen and say, fill me back up here.
I've never been to Flanagan's, so I'm very excited.
My boy.
Yeah.
What is the greatest of the refills, of all of the refills? Because when I learned of that refill, I had not heard of a better refill deal than that one, that you can refill nachos?
At some movie theaters, you get a large popcorn, you eat that thing, you can get it refilled.
I'll tell you, growing up in New York City, we didn't have the concept of free refills of sodas was not a thing. So the first time I actually visited my brother who was going to school at Florida State, we went down to Florida and went to McDonald's, and they had free refills. And I remember saying, how are they still in business? Like, I could not imagine. Like, they must be losing billions of dollars just giving away soda. There will never be a bigger moment in my life regarding free refills than the first time I realized that it costs them like 6 cents for every cup of soda they sell.
David Sampson, as a business person, do you hate the idea of a free refill?
No, you just don't make a lot of money off it. You do a lot of all you can eat, and there are some people who take advantage, but the majority of people, they get full and they don't actually end up eating as much as you'd think. But when you do those deals inside stadiums, it's the teams that actually pay for it, not the concessionaire. They keep their margin on all the food and they keep track of it.
How about the all-you-can-eat buffet? How do you feel about that as a business proposition?
I used to feel better about it. I don't engage in them. My first time in Vegas was the first time that I saw that at 21 years old. And the concept of a $9.99 all-you-can-eat buffet, I was never the biggest guy, so it didn't mean anything to me. But I love the ones. My favorite from childhood was a restaurant called Ground Round. And that's a restaurant in Wisconsin, maybe everywhere, I don't know. And you only had to pay your weight, and they had a scale. And if you got on the scale and you were a certain age, so I'd be like, for 60 cents, my family would take me there to eat.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Do you like or have you heard of the restaurant Ground Round? And also put on the poll, do you love an all-you-can-eat buffet? Your problem with the all-you-can-eat buffet is just hygiene, right? It's other people being able to sneeze near your chicken.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of how that works. COVID was actually great for the buffets because it mostly got rid of them, though it's beginning to happen again. And there'd be ways where you had your individual utensil. I don't love everyone using the same utensil, and I don't love sort of the sanitary conditions that surround buffets. So if I can avoid them, I do. And I do.
How about the rest of you? How do you feel about a buffet? Do you guys like a good buffet? I'm a big fan, obviously, of a good buffet.
I love a buffet, obviously. When I get to a sushi buffet, I never know. When I take like the little tongs for one sushi roll, can I just use that same tongs for like until I'm done? I'm going to go to a couple sushi rolls. There's one at each one, and I feel like it's inefficient to like put the thing down and grab the other tong. I'm just going to take one tongs. I'm going to do my business, and then I'm going to put the tongs back at the original little tray that it was on.
There's so much buildup on those things when you grab different sushi rolls because obviously everything is topped with different things. All of a sudden you have the one that you see everybody use that has all the residue from all the other sushi rolls on them. Dan, to be honest, okay, I used to like buffets, but now me dan asco.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because one time I was at an all-you-can-eat place and I was looking around and I was like, what am I doing?
I know what he said there, but Roy doesn't know. So
asco.
Disgust. It gives him disgust. The rest of you, Amin, how do you feel about a buffet?
Yeah, I'm not really big on it. I always feel like it's not bang for the buck, especially buffets. They're no longer $9.95.
But that's all they are is bang for the buck.
You make it bang for the buck.
It used to be, but now, like if you like those Vegas buffets, it's like $49, and I'm like, I don't want to spend $49 for food that's not that great. That's the other part of it is like the food is not great. It's just a lot of it, as much as you can eat of it, but it's not like well prepared, well done, well seasoned food. So I'd rather just spend the money on a meal that's going to fill me up rather than have all I can eat of something I don't really like.
I used to be, especially in college, but now I have a wife and child, both with food allergies. So what Chris was talking about, using tongs on different
he's
plates,
spreading food allergies.
Terrible.
His inconsideration spreads to others. If you've got a nut allergy or whatever, and
shellfish,
one of your sushi rolls is pecan encrusted or something, you've got a real problem on your hands.
If you have a shellfish allergy, okay, I'm not creating your problem here. Why are you at this sushi buffet?
Because there's sushi that doesn't have shellfish in it.
Samson, what did you have to offer us that Stugotz would have needed to hear as it related to his book sale? Next week is going to be our big push for the book. We're going to try and make it a New York Times bestseller. We believe our audience will make it a New York Times bestseller. What are you laughing about?
That would be the ultimate in the Roar versus Reach debate. If Stugotz is a bestseller and somehow you haven't gamed the system and it really is through sales that you didn't do yourself, then that will be your number one accomplishment. Forget 20 years partnering with him. If this book is a New York Times bestseller, it is an affront to authors everywhere.
What's funny about that is I got a text from him the other day, okay, and fourth on the list in the category of sports writing was the author that we had on last week for Best American Sports Writing. The best all over the world, not just America. Well, I guess it is America. But the best sports writing from the entire last year is chronicled in one book, and it was at number 4. And Stugotz showed me the picture of that at number 4 and him at number 1 in the sports category. And he's like, best American sports writing, my ass, was what the text was.
Here's the thing about those rankings. You have to understand how it happens. That's like when a new podcast comes out, all of a sudden it'll be high in the rankings, but it hasn't had a lot of episodes and it doesn't have a lot of cumulative listeners, but that's part of the algorithm. And I thought, and I may be totally wrong, that New York Times bestseller was a very simple equation. It was actually based on just sales. So if you're telling me that the newness of a book would make it a bestseller and that's a factor in that list, that is new information to me.
Guys, it's all about a breakfast buffet. An omelet station at a breakfast buffet in particular, where you don't have to just scoop all of the scrambled eggs that everybody else is going to, so you can get your customized omelet and then just whatever sides you want. That's the best buffet.
That's my least favorite of the buffets.
Really?
The breakfast buffet is the least favorite.
Even with the omelet station?
I don't love in general breakfast as that's my least favorite meal as well among the meals. Like I'd rather have a lunch buffet and I'd rather have a dinner buffet. Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Best of the buffets, breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
Picturing Dan at like a sad continental breakfast is funny. Like opening up one of those cereal boxes, pouring it in the bowl.
Third in line to get the eggs.
You guys
just kind of standing there.
Excuse me, do you have
Oatmeal.
almond milk? Do you have any oat milk here? It's like, no, Dan, we just have 2%.
Did you guys ever eat at the dining hall in college?
Yes.
Because that was an all-you-can-eat buffet that I took advantage of.
Well, not only did I love that was my first experience coming from a small exile background of I walked in with wide-eyed wonder to the commissary, the eating area at the University of Miami.
They started hearing the song, America.
I'm not kidding you. The original Cuban defector baseball player, Rene Arocha, who came to this country, I went with him one time when he got to the United States to a grocery store as soon as he got here. His knees gave as soon as he walked in because he's just looking at food everywhere. And then he goes to buy something for himself because it's got a happy kid on the can smiling. And I'm like, that's dog food. You shouldn't have that. And he looks at me and he's like, you guys have food for your dogs here? Like, he was totally confused by it. That was me in the University of Miami commissary. Like, I'm just looking around and I'm like, I can have cereal whenever I want? I can just come in here and grab cereal. The meal plan just has perpetual cereal.
So when you went to the Rathskeller, the whole world opened up for you.
Well, no, the Rathskeller is the campus bar. This is
exactly.
It also opened up for me there because that was my first experience with liquor of any kind. Because I was not a bad kid in high school, so I didn't do any of that stuff. All boys.
Judgmental, Jesus.
I was 35 years old.
Well, it is illegal.
Who cares?
Not in Wisconsin.
Under 16 is not illegal to drink liquor?
David, what are the rules in Wisconsin? Can't you drink at a bar with your parents?
I thought it was 18, but no one is carding. Everyone on the University of Wisconsin campus in Madison, everyone is drinking as a freshman, and no one cared.
David, what did you think of everything that went down this week with the Jets as they, the entire situation must enrage you, the fact that an organization as large as the Jets just gave everything over to Aaron Rodgers? Well,
they got what they deserved. And the fall guy, there's been so many articles about the GM being fired, and the Athletic just crushed Woody Johnson, as they should have. Of course, he's a meddling owner. Of course, he makes the decisions. We talk about it on Nothing Personal. On any of the shows, we talk about every owner is a meddling owner. So what Woody Johnson did is not so out of the ordinary. You just would like a meddling owner that's better at meddling than Woody is. And it just appears that he had a bunch of thoughts in his head about Rodgers, about benching Rodgers, about the coach, not the coach. And what does it all mean? That your organization is not going to do well. And that's where the Jets are. The Jets are no different than the Marlins. The Jets are no different than pick your team, where there's an owner that just has no idea what he's doing, not interested in learning from anybody, and just is going to keep firing people and doing everything on his whim. And it just will mean the end for Stugotz. And I feel terribly for him, but he's going to have a New York Times bestseller, so I don't think he'll care about the Jets.
Also, he's used to it. Let's be real. This isn't new for him. David, this past weekend, we got news of a settlement between Warner Brothers Discovery and the NBA in which they would continue. They got a bunch of things out of it, including territorial rights in Northern Europe and Latin America outside of Mexico and Brazil. But one of the more curious things is they get to continue producing and making inside the NBA, and then they license it to ESPN to broadcast. How common is that in a settlement between two agreed parties for a third party to come in and basically be like a third team in a trade?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, it was a 3-team trade. That's what happened, because the privity for inside the NBA was between Turner and Disney. It had nothing to do with the NBA. And so that's like a 3-team trade where you figure out what's the best way to get this done. And the fact is that Warner Brothers had to settle. They were not going to prevail in this lawsuit. The NBA had very little interest in this continuing in any sort of way as a distraction. They've got enough problems with their on-court product. And they also recognized that the pregame show with Barkley and Shaq and Kenny Smith and Ernie needed to continue. And they also knew they weren't going to leave Atlanta. So when you know all of those things, you then can figure out how to make a trade. And Disney and ESPN, they're no fools. They need a pregame show for their package. And they said, we'll just literally take your show, but you do it. Do exactly what you're doing in Atlanta with the exact same people where Charles has wanted them all to keep their jobs, etc. So it saves face for Turner. It helps ESPN with a prepackaged, ready-to-go show, and their lawsuit goes away. It was really a win for all three parties.
But how common is that, of the 3-team trade style settlement in any business, let alone in media?
Yeah, no, it's not very common at all, where you need a third company to come in to help. And I would argue that that actually was not part of the settlement. it was a trade that happened that made it look like a 3-team trade, but I view it as a totally separate negotiation because Warner Brothers recognized they wouldn't prevail in this lawsuit. They needed to save face, and they needed to not bleed money by even having any of the packages. Oh, and by the way, there wasn't going to be a fourth package. So they did all of this announcement of the 5-year production services deal and the digital deal and Latin America, but only the places in which really you can't monetize. And it all ends well. And then they did the deal with ESPN once they realized that they wouldn't have any games.
This is kind of like when Disney traded Oswald the Lucky Rabbit for Al Michaels to NBC.
I didn't know about a trade, but you can trade announcers. You can trade talent. Their contracts are not assignable generally without their permission. It would be as though you guys are under contract and you wake up one day and you're working for McAfee, that you've just been traded in that way. And I just don't know that your contracts would allow that. But some announcer deals do, and obviously player deals all have assignment clauses where by definition you could be traded unless you actually have a clause that says there are no trades for me. So it's an interesting thing. And in fact, Barkley will tell you that he feels like he was traded to ESPN, but he's really a Turner employee, a Warner Brothers employee. He'll be paid by them. All ESPN did was license the show from Turner the way Metalark licenses shows from people who own their shows.
Katie Nolan, I believe, was traded to ESPN. I think I have that right. Can you tell me, David, what you imagine the going rate for that show is? Like what the value of that show is? I will tell everybody listening to this that ESPN has been frustrated the entire time it has done basketball programming by its basketball studio shows because the basketball studio shows all pale in comparison to that studio show, as all studio shows do. So their ability to buy that show when Charles Barkley doesn't want to work for ESPN makes ESPN the big winner there, because the NBA and Adam Silver and David Stern before him have never liked what the studio shows are, have always found them unsatisfying. And so now they just bought the biggest and the best one over Charles Barkley's objections.
Well, he can object all he wants, Dan. He has no say in the matter. He's an employee. But I will tell you that if John Skipper on the Sporting Class, his view is pregame shows, postgame shows, they're not drivers for me, him talking as former president of ESPN. I'm far more interested in the game and the content that is the game. That said, I do believe that this particular show has taken on a life of its own, has the personalities in it that do give it independent value. However, Turner really didn't agree because they were willing to license it to ESPN. They were willing to get financial relief, but they're going to keep those guys and do a show with them, maybe about all sports, etc. But make no mistake, they were ready to get a part of those salaries off their books.
Can you guys help me, though, with what you imagine the real cost or worth of all of that is? Like if I had to put a monetary value on the best studio show in the history of sports studio shows, ESPN wants to license that. What is the real world dollar value of that?
Dan, it's hard to say, because are you telling me that someone would go in and be an advertiser or sponsor only for the pre and post and not for the game? They're not interested in the NBA. They're interested in just those personalities. That gets tested a lot when people get their own talk shows, when people come from a group setting and try to branch off. It happens with artists and bands where they try to go on their own. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We're going to find out, because Turner's going to use Charles in a bunch of different ways. ESPN's trying to use Stephen A in a bunch of different ways, and we just don't know whether or not any of those ways will work. So I can't give you an exact amount. And by the way, neither can Warner Brothers. They know what the expense is to produce the show and to pay the talent, but they don't allocate a certain dollar amount to it.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, David. We're assuming it's got to at least offset the cost of making the show. Now, some of that stuff is static and fixed to the show, like the people who work behind the scenes to it. But like you said, David, they've already announced their intentions to use their talent in other ways. So how much of a percentage of their salary is assigned to the making of this show versus all the other ways, whether it's March Madness, whether it's an all-around sports show, whatever. And even, by the way, behind the scenes people, those producers, those camera people, they don't just work on that show. They work on a bunch of things. So how do you allocate a percentage to that? and that's the number, that's the cost, and then that's they're going to put a margin on top of that and say, well, it costs us this much, so you need to give us that plus X. I'm with David. It's actually a lot more complicated, and I don't even know if Warner knows what they should charge for something like that.
David, why did I see pictures of you and Chris Cody out this weekend together?
Because we were. I was in Florida at Meisner Park at a concert, and all of a sudden I posted about it, and Cody was like, are you going to be in Boca? And I said, yeah. And he was there, and we connected, and we ended up watching a concert together, OAR. And then we went backstage and did a total look at me, Louie, and got to hang out with the band members, which was amazing. And it turns out that Chris happens to be a lot of fun off the air.
That seems shocking. Huh?
Surprised by that?
I feel like the people knew that. And I will say, I don't know if the people knew this, David, a good time. I mean, David took care of me and my friend. As soon as he knew we were there, he's like, he went out of his way. Because, you know, like he tried to get me into his area and he got a little pushback. But, you know, I could have stopped there. I told David, don't worry about it. But no, he texted me 10 minutes later. Hey, I got you badges. You're good to go. David was awesome.
I love it. Chris is like, hey, he's a good time. He paid for everything, got us backstage and everything.
Incredible guy.
I thought you were going to say, oh, David, we did shots and like he's actually really relaxed and a nice guy.
I have no negatives. I don't know if you're looking for negatives here. I have no negative notes on David. He was great.
Yeah, he funded the whole night.
What do you mean? I was not there because of him. Well, he just went out of his way to make sure that I could come where he was.
Yeah, an act of kindness, Amin. Come on.
What is OAR?
It's a band.
Of a Revolution. It is a band they started from Rockville, Maryland in the 90s. They've done very well. They continue to tour. It happens to be a fantastic group, and I love them. And I didn't really know about them much, and I was introduced to them this summer. That's how late to the party I am. And I will say this, Chris, that I enjoyed being out with you, though I found as the night wore on, you did, and I'm not criticizing you because some people would be okay with this, you got a little touchy. So when we're celebrating or singing a song, I found that there was a little extra sort of body to body and hand to body contact that was problematic to me. Not because it was an inappropriate place, because any place for me is inappropriate in that way. But I noticed that there was that, so I was okay when the concert ended in that way.
It was a
vibe. And the other thing I'll say, Chris, Dan, that you may know this about Chris, he ghosted us at the end of the night. Disappeared without saying goodbye.
That's one of my moves when I'm not driving and I'm Ubering on my own and I'm like a lone wolf and I know that I can leave whenever I want. I kind of have this moment. We were backstage. The vibe was great. I didn't want to do the guy of like, hey, everyone, I'm leaving. And then everyone's like, oh, why are you like, the vibe was good. So I just backed out.
I feel like you're obligated to do that when someone gets you all access and pays for everything.
Thank you.
I'm the king of the Irish goodbye. I will tell you that my friends, this has actually happened, have been in a bar, heard the alarm go off from someone leaving through an exit they shouldn't have, and been like, Dan's gone. Like heard the alarm go off because they're like, that's it, Dan's left. So I can do that, but I wouldn't do that to somebody who had taken care of my entire night.
That's a fair point, and I did apologize to David, but I did feel that the vibes were so strong that it wouldn't have been like a, okay, hey, see you later, thanks for coming. It would have been a, no, don't leave yet, and I just was like, I didn't want to be the Debbie Downer, so I was just like, let me slip out the back door, hop in this Uber and go.
Cody, let me set the scene for you of what happened. The band was looking for you.
Yeah, you said that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
It's 100% true because we all had to clear out, and they do a counting of who's back there because they don't want you hanging around. So we had the band, including Mark, the lead singer. He was there.
Nice guy.
The head roadie guy was there. There were members of security looking for you. And we were like, yeah, the tall guy, red beard. He was there. He was.
That's not going to narrow it down in an OAR concert. That is not going to narrow it down. Red beard.
I bet they were shattered.
Very good. Anyway, at the end of the day, we just did we basically swept out the whole backstage. And the lounges, the thing is, there's a lot of different rooms backstage at Meisner Park, and there were different bands, and there were different band members in different rooms. So Chris could have gone anywhere. So we had to do a sweep of every room, and we were texting him. He was not answering, and there were a bunch of us trying to reach him. And finally, the band manager was, I don't think he's here, but you all have to go now.
Yo, I can't believe, Chris, that the
tall Chris,
the lead singer,
tall guy,
the lead singer of a band that I just discovered 5 minutes ago was looking for you?
I mean, I question how intense they were searching.
Okay,
for me.
It sounds like it was pretty
it
intense.
sounds like they were looking for you. At one point, my wife did say to me, David, she said, David has tweeted that he's at sound check and that it's magical. Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Has a sound check ever been magical? She didn't
100%.
She didn't say this, but I thought to myself, that's just David showing everybody that he's at the concert. Like that, I don't believe it's an actual magical sound check.
That is your cynicism, while possibly warranted, is misguided in this particular instance. This sound check was a little different because they were working on new material and they let us watch them as they were writing and composing both lyrics and the music to a new song. And I had never seen that before, that process, other than in a great play called Stereophonic. But generally, you don't see that too often. And so I thought that was pretty magical.
You couldn't be more wrong, Dan. A proper sound check of a band. I mean, come on. Bruce Springsteen sitting down at a piano by himself playing Thunder Road with a harmonica for a limited audience. I mean, get out of here, man. Come on.
I could be more wrong. I'm often more wrong. I am not wrong when I say that the OAR sound check was not as magical as David said it was. He wanted everyone to know that he was at the OAR concert.
And just to
keep repeating it, Dan, it won't make it right, but this is what you do. You get in this, you think that if you just say something more often and you say it with a different inflection, like a very serious inflection, as though now you're going to convince everyone that what you're saying is right. Keep going.
I just
Dan,
have to
but
keep
it was
saying
magical to me.
OAR again and again, and I've heard of many and seen many things described as magical. If I were to make a list of all of them that I've heard in the entirety of my life, the last thing on that list would be the OAR sound check. Of all
Because
the things
you don't
I've
like
heard is
OAR,
this.
Dan.
No, I just like magic. I like real magical things, and sound checks generally are not that. I also believe that you were lightheaded because Chris Cody, a good time, was going to be spending a lot of time with you that day. And at that point, you hadn't envisioned him leaving quietly without telling anybody because he's also rude.
Can I clarify just to defend myself a little bit with the Irish Goodbye? While David hooked me up with the band to get into his little area, I paid for all my drinks. This wasn't like David's like, you're on my tab. I'm just defending myself a little bit here. Like, it wasn't...
Not even around?
This wasn't like bottle service paid for by David. Like, I paid for all my $18 beers, and that was it.
And your tickets. I didn't get you tickets.
That's what I'm saying. Like, David saw me there and was like, I'm going to get you in my VIP area. It was completely nice. All his crew is great.
It was dry, though. A dry VIP area.
But I didn't want that. But you guys are implying, like, I owed this, like...
Kind of did.
I mean, it was...
I don't think, Chris, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it doesn't matter whether I paid for zero or all of it. You were there with someone else who you also didn't say goodbye to.
That's true.
Who was forced to stay there looking for you also.
I don't discriminate. I just, when I'm, like I said, when I have my Uber, when I'm a lone wolf, I do a lot of traveling with others these days. When I'm a lone wolf, I'm Irish goodbying. It's just how I live.
Would you guys be kind enough to give me the origins of the Irish goodbye, why it's an Irish goodbye, why the Irish are a people that leave without saying something more than others do?
I'm going to guess it's because they're drunk and they forget to say goodbye.
Okay. I don't think Chris forgot to say goodbye. I think this was an orchestrated Navy SEAL strike of getting out of there.
I was doing right by the party in my mind. I'm like, I don't want to, like, there's a vibe in here right now. I don't want the vibe. I've seen the vibe of one person's leaving too early.
You're claiming that you were doing this for others, that this was an act of altruism, that your brother Teresa at the OAR concert?
I didn't want to stop the vibe of, like, oh, we have to convince this guy to stay now. Like, oh, he's leaving. Why are you leaving? The party's still...
We wouldn't have convinced you to stay.
Oh, David, you were vibing that night. If I would have said, David, I'm out of here, you'd have been like, why? What do you mean? You're still...
David does not strike me as a guy
David
that has ever said, why are you leaving?
No, David was a good time.
David, have you ever done that to anyone? Why are you leaving?
I love Chris Cody being such a good time that he expects others and bands to beg him to stay.
I'm telling you.
Please don't say. The whole thing's going to fall apart.
Chris, please, come on, man.
There were discussions about what's after that. Like, you always hear what are we doing after this?
party.
Like, I heard the rumbling, so I'm just like,
What?
I'm done.
Chris, they were getting on the tour bus
not the
to go
tour.
to the next tour date.
With your crew, like, there were rumblings of, like, what's happening after
Who was
this?
in David Sampson's Dangerous Nights crew, please?
David can say who they were. I mean, I'm not going to out people.
Just give. It doesn't have to be names. Give me like descriptions.
All right. It was Mike Hill. No, I'm kidding.
Out them Mike as friends of David. It was Larry Beinfest, it was Mike Hill, and it was Jack McKeon. It was
Jeff Conine.
It was a roaring good time through Meisner Park. Get me please the origins of the Irish goodbye.
Yeah, it is the terrible stereotype that Amin was right about of a heavy Irish population in Boston, Massachusetts. May I suggest we now just call it the Cody goodbye?
No.
Please, instead of being racist,
rename it.
I don't know, racist.
Is Irish a race?
Stereotypical, whatever it is.
I don't know whether that's racist.
Xenophobic,
or not.
discriminatory.
I mean, you guys should probably read some history books.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you
thank
what.
you.
What does that mean?
Look it up is what it means. That's Jessica saying.
Do your own
look it
research.
up. Can you help me, David, with a little better understanding of everything that's going on with my beloved Rays and their stadium situation?
What a cluster duck. So the hurricane comes, which you've, of course, predicted the end of the world. The weather patterns are all different, climate change, etc. This hurricane was a really poorly timed hurricane, certainly for the people who lost their homes and lost their lives. That is for sure. Secondarily, there was about to be a ballpark deal that was finished for a new ballpark in St. Petersburg with a ton of real estate development. And then the roof blew off. And there's great photos of it. They're not great. Let me say it better. There's tragic photos of this building and it becoming impossible to play in. And now you've got a community where you've got to decide, do we spend money to fix up a stadium that's only going to be here for a couple more years? Do we use the money to help people who lost their homes? Do we use the money to get a new ballpark done for the Rays? All of these questions are being asked. And what the Rays did, Stu Sternberg, bless his heart, he said, you guys aren't good partners. We may have to relocate because you're not willing to get this stadium going right now. We got to get into the new one by 28. And then Rob Manfred came out just yesterday, Dan, and said, hey, let's everyone breathe. Let's everyone try to recover from the hurricane. Let's everyone recognize the weather event that took place. He played the good guy to Sternberg's bad guy, which is pre-planned, of course, the strategy, the best way to get the most public money.
David, we were debating yesterday over the Pirates' potential giveaway for this Paul Skeens card. And for those who don't know, they're talking about basically being given this card from whoever receives it, which has Paul Skeens' patch from his rookie season on there. And they were offering a trade of 30 years of season tickets behind home plate, playing a softball game with 30 of your friends, and a whole other variety of giveaways, including Livy Dunn saying, hey, come sit with me in my suite if you're able to turn in this card. We now have some of the details on the screen. But, David, do you think this is good value, or should this person take this card and try to sell it?
So a couple of days ago, I did a full segment on this on Nothing Personal. Let me sum it up for you this way. When you get this card, and it's a one of one, so it's like a lottery ticket, you're likely not going to get it, go right to an auction house. Do not do a trade. Now, remember, it could be anywhere. You could have someone in Detroit get it. It's like the big power mega thing that Stugotz plays all the time. It could come from a newsstand in Out of Your Hubbits. What do they want 30 years of Pirates season tickets for? It's totally ridiculous. And someone did a calculation, but they did it wrong, that the value of 30 years of season tickets would be greater than what you can get at auction. And that is not accurate at all. And by the way, the meet and greet with Paul Skeens, he's got an agent. Give him $25K, he'll come to your damn bar mitzvah. You don't need to trade a card for it. And a softball game on the field, the Pirates, like every team, offers that. And that's like $5,000, and you can play in the outfield. You want to play on the infield, maybe $12,000? Give me a break. This is not like a major trade that the Pirates offered. Anyone who finds this card, do not do that trade.
A follow-up here, David. For the Pirates, is that good value what they offered, like for the card?
Are they doing it to give back to Skeens? Are they doing it to put in a museum? Are they doing it to sell themselves? Are they doing it to keep a piece of the great history of the Rookie of the Year, Cy Young finalists? who did not win, obviously, the Cy Young that was announced last night. They're doing it. It was a good promotion. We're talking about the Pirates on the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz.
They got us.
I would say that is 1-0 Pittsburgh.
Damn it, they got us good.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Is there any possibility that the sound check at the OAR concert was magical? What is the movie that you're reviewing today, David?
I want to talk about a movie that is called Saturday Night.
Oh, the SNL movie.
The SNL movie. It is a movie that is all about the 90 minutes prior to the first ever SNL episode back in the 70s with a young Lorne Michaels and a young Chevy Chase and a young John Belushi and Gilda Radner, etc. It's directed by Jason Reitman, who is Ivan Reitman's son, Ivan Reitman, who is passed away. And Dan, you are very confused in how you talk about Ted Turner. He's alive.
I didn't realize I was giving off that he was dead. I didn't realize
tend
that
to
it
do
sounded
that.
like I was eulogizing him. Evidently, lately I've been doing that. Yeah,
Sounds like a fine.
Yeah,
I don't know
it's
what
dangerously
causes
close
you to
to
do
a
that.
fine. Yeah, sorry,
But Ted Turner's alive, and so is Jason Reitman, but Ivan is actually not. It's a fascinating movie of a story that is very meaningful to me because if you're an SNL fan, the history of SNL is truly really cool. But it's 70s, so if you don't like big collars and you don't like the movie stock that doesn't look HD, you may not like it, but it's a frenzied pace. It's perfectly choreographed, and the actors who play the Belushi and Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd are really good at being those characters, and there is not 1 minute where you're not enjoying it. So it's the opposite of the Ted Turner documentary. It's not slow at all. You will not check your phone. You will not be bored, and you may even learn something cool.
the name of his podcast is Nothing Personal. You could catch him every day live at 8 a.m. on YouTube. I will tell you again, as I always do when he's on with us, that there is no single person in sports media covering this particular amount of sports and business and other things ground as David Sampson is by himself on Nothing Personal every day, 8 a.m. Eastern. Thank you, David.
Peace.
A lot of girth behind these coloring books.
That's the sound of Stugotz selling out our autographed coloring books. We are selling out as part of our 20-year celebration around here. We're introducing the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz's 20th anniversary jersey. It's a weird choice to enter the Christmas holidays selling a sleeveless garment, but here we are.
I mean, 20 years, I have been on fire. The last 20 years have put me in the Hall of Fame. Who would look worse in a tank top, me or you?
Okay, it's sleeveless garmentry that we're selling at LeBatardAF.com. It took us 20 years to make it. It looks just as bad on us as you would imagine.
This is
behind the bit.
This is
behind the bit. This is behind
the bit.
For the past 20 years, you've seen and heard bits on the Dan Le Batard Show. You may have wondered to yourself, what are these bits? What's wrong with these people?
Benny in Fort Lauderdale, you're on 790.
Hi, this is Betty from Fort Lauderdale.
We've established that.
I want to say that the 72 Dolphins are so special because they won every game and then they won all the playoff games.
That's a pretty good call. Who is this?
Is this your favorite show caller?
Oh, my God. That is a perfect sports radio call.
That's great.
All comedically,
Yes.
The timing on, hi, this is Benny from Fort Lauderdale. We've established that. Stugotz has never been sharper. To then follow that with the single most obvious point that you can make,
He
which
was
is
right, though.
that the undefeated Dolphins won all their games in the regular season and then the postseason. That is a perfectly stupid call to encapsulate all sports radio caller wisdom.
But then to have Hawk on the back end kind of finish him off, finish Benny off. You know, it's like the biggest compliment. We've been fortunate to have two super smart executive producers who are also very funny guys. They know funny when they hear funny. I remember saying we've established that and seeing Hawk burst out in laughter in the other room. And for us, it's like the highest compliment. Because if Hawk is laughing, if Mike is laughing, if Chris, Billy, if they're laughing, Roy, the audience is laughing. Because those guys don't laugh at much.
Yeah.
So we know they're laughing. And we hit all the notes there.
It was perfect.
Yes.
What he had to say was the 72 Dolphins were so special because they won all the games. Like, oh, come on, man. This is why we don't take calls anymore, because of that.
Dan always had an open disdain for the traditional sports radio caller and established rules pretty quickly. Don't ask me how I'm doing. You don't actually care. It's just filler. Just get on the show, give me your point, and leave, and we can go on to the next one. Now, callers eventually became a huge part of our show with fakes and songs, and we established quite the top that nature with calls. And calls can actually be good. And Benny from Fort Lauderdale, when he was screened, did not necessarily fit the mold of a caller that would get through on the air with Dan. Very traditional sports take. If you hear the call, it's not really a topic we'd say yes to. But I remember in the screening process, Benny from Fort Lauderdale sounded so unique and so funny that we thought that if we put this caller on the board, magic might possibly happen.
That was one of the original calls we took. We didn't even want to be that show. We were that show for about 8 months taking calls, but that was within those 8 months.
And Dan had rules with the callers. He wanted you to get right to your point. He didn't care. Like, you don't care about how we're doing. We don't care about how you're doing. I mean, we do.
Get to it. Get to it.
And so Dan had established these rules. Don't give us your name. Don't give us your location. Just get to your point. Hey, it's Benny from Fort Lauderdale.
Yes, and my point is the Dolphins were undefeated because they won all their games in the regular season and all the games in the postseason.
How the did that call get through?
It's really amazing.
They really milked this one for content, right?
Yeah, the most famous thing we did was the Elton John parody. I wouldn't say parody. We just put Benny from Fort Lauderdale in, and from Benny actually saying his name and location, and replace it with Benny from the Jets. That was all we did.
Betty from Fort Lauderdale. Betty from Fort Lauderdale.
So we had to top that nature when it came to calls, and all the callers found Benny from Fort Lauderdale funny, and it became canon. Essentially, people would be fake Benny from Fort Lauderdale, fake Cuban Benny from Fort Lauderdale, and they would just replicate the call.
You're listening to the Dan Le Batard Show.
Spanish Benny from Fort Lauderdale. Spanish Benny, you're on 790 The Ticket.
Hola, este es Benny de Fort Lauderdale.
We've established that.
That's it.
What is happening?
Eso es un bueno caller. ¿Cuál es su nombre?
It had quite a few legs. We were laughing at Benny from Fort Lauderdale for quite a few years after that call. I'm glad this bit exists, actually, so we can revisit it, because that is certainly one of the more well-known calls in our show's history.
You cannot do better than that in its stupidity, in its simplicity.
But Benny was right.
Yes, he was right. He's right forever.
If you love our show, there are certain staples to the show, and I will safely tell you that Benny from Fort Lauderdale, if you've been listening since day one, that is a top 10 moment for you all time,
Yes.
I think.
Yeah, it's pretty high.
Yeah.
Did he ever call in again?
No.
We
went looking for him. No, we went looking for him. We never found him again. Benny was a one-time only appearance forever.
Had we found him again, he still would have tried to hammer home the point. 72 Dolphins, greatest team, undefeated. I miss Benny. I do.
A real one-hit wonder, Benny from Fort Lauderdale. Let me just hear the call here again, because I think this is the rare voice where all of us will conjure something similar in terms of a visual image. I don't think a lot of us will have different visuals on what this person looks like when they sound like this. Benny in Fort Lauderdale, you're on 790.
Hi, this is Benny from Fort Lauderdale.
We've established that.
I want to say that the 72 Dolphins are so special because they won every game, and then they won all the playoff games.
That's a pretty good call. Who is this?
He's pink, right? That person is pink. That person has gotten too much sun.
I see him leathery.
Okay. Either way, too much sun.
Yeah, too much sun. Yeah.
I don't know if it's the best caller in show history, though, because I believe Lombardo was the best caller in show history. I don't have a better caller than this in my memory. Al, you're on 790.
Yeah, hi, Lombardo. Dan, I can't believe how accurate you are on this obvious point, while how slow on the uptake the other guy is. It is so obvious. I mean, you take a look at golf. Someone who has the yips. Sam Snead, my God, in the late 50s, he had to go to side saddle. Then they had to change the rule. You couldn't go croquet. He still went side saddle the opposite way. Both feet to the left of the ball. You see guys like Bernhard Langer that have had the yips and went to the long putter 3 different times. You got guys like Ian Baker Finch, was one of the greatest putters in the world, won the British Open, got the yips, went to the long putter, couldn't even putt again, quit the game, became an analyst. You go to pool, or no, a better example, you go to bowling. Are you trying to tell me that if Mark Roth is starting to miss a lot of 10 pins in the channel or hooking it too much, that he isn't going to go smart enough, which he eventually did, to a lighter ball? A 14-pound ball, sometimes that look like a little child speckled ball at your local bowling alley, so we can move cross alley and throw it up to make 10 pins at the 95% rate you're supposed to on the PBA Tour? Or if you're shooting pool and you have the closed bridge that all great players have, like Jimmy Chiara, who was the 1943 champion of the world, who broke me in, although he did say I had a choke stroke for the money, and he was right. I was a better 3-cushion billiards player. If you can use an open stroke like Joan Rivers on bad acid, if you get the job done, get the job done. It's all about whatever works. It's just like life. If you want to go through life trying to fornicate with the most beautiful women in the world that you can, while also have a main squeeze and 4 or 5 mistresses on the side, rock on, and then try to keep trading up. But then once you're lucky enough to find that foxy angel of your life, if you're not smart enough to grab onto her and hold on to her for 14 years while you enjoy your summer home in Lake Garda for 6 weeks every year, then you're a dummy. But what works, Stugotz, you lame uptake.
That's not real.
It is real. When I met him one time, his cologne was coffee and cigarettes. Unsurprising, I know.
That scenario at the end was way too specific.
It really was.
He also sounded like Taffer midway through.
He
It's
did.
Like the 95%, like he sounded a lot like Taffer explaining why beer at 36 degrees is the optimal temperature, but at 38 degrees, you're getting 50% of the keg as opposed to 95%.
Did you see that Taffer tweet the other day? Tony, you know what I'm talking about?
I've seen all the Taffer
Yeah.
tweets.
Where he's on the private jet and it's kind of like a profile of him and it's like a bar hates to see
Oh,
me
yeah,
come
come in, yeah.
I thought of you both immediately.
Oh, man, that guy's great.
I did that to my wife the other day. She said something Taffer. She said I was doing something Taffer related, and then I looked around like the Christmas tree.
Your Christmas tree's up?
The imaginary Christmas tree. The way that we say Taffer talks to people. My Christmas tree is not yet up, but I don't think it's inappropriate to buy a Christmas tree before Thanksgiving. Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Do you think it's okay to buy a Christmas tree before Thanksgiving? Because especially if I'm buying, I've had the last couple die on me because they're not cut right at the bottom, so they become these dry things that are represent sadness in the middle of my living room. But if I'm gonna get the pain in the ass of putting this in the car, on the car, getting it home, making a mess of my car, all of that stuff, I want to enjoy it for more than a month. I want to keep it up a little extra on the front end, and I want to keep it up a little extra on the back end, because I've got to be honest with you. Don't enjoy decorating the Christmas tree. Don't enjoy any of that. Enjoy having one, but don't enjoy the process of decorating it.
Are you like being in a rush or something, buying this tree at like the week before Thanksgiving?
I want it the maximum amount of time. If I'm going to get a live Christmas tree that I then have to take care of, if I'm going to bring a living thing into my house that's going to, it's going to shed, it's going to be something that is difficult to get into my house, it's big, I'm going to be sticky after I put it in the house.
You could also be describing a horse.
Dan, this is for Americas.
Yep.
Because there are those of us that don't celebrate Christmas. So it's like everything you're describing is just some foreign concept to me. The idea of you get a tree and you got to take. I didn't even know you had to take care of the tree. I swear to God.
You get a fake tree.
It's got to water.
No, I thought the real tree. It's in a pot.
Yeah.
I thought the real tree just stood up like in the corner. I
thought
didn't
it's
know.
just balanced. It just like stayed like
perfectly cut.
Yeah, like they slice it in a way where it's like flat, and then they put it up there. Maybe
You thought a tree could last for 2 months without any water, totally dehydrated, just sitting in a corner of my house without any foundation.
It's evergreen. That's the.
It's not though. Mine,
different kind of tree.
Mine the last 2 years have turned brown because the water isn't being absorbed from however it is that the bottom of the tree is supposed to be cut.
Also, those pots have like screws in it with rubber stoppers that you can actually straighten the tree with.
So what is too early for you to see Christmas decorations anywhere? I'm talking about outside. Like, I understand that you're saying that these aren't your religious beliefs, but I've told you guys before, Christmas music makes me happy. We don't have a change of seasons in South Florida, even though it's going to be possibly in the high 50s this weekend. And we're all a little scared of what cometh this way. 59 degrees, a possibility. But that's the season change to me when I see lights and everything else, because not every year do we get the 59 degrees.
I love when you bust out your old English. This time of year, I think we have a late Thanksgiving this year, right? Like it's the 28th.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're starting to see it out in public places, right? It's okay right now.
Dan, you said Christmas music makes you happy. Do you have a specific favorite Christmas carol?
Little Drummer Boy.
Really?
Yes.
Really? I bought these gifts for you. Do
you have a favorite?
I do.
I thought that you didn't. This is for America.
It's music, but I like music.
I think decorations. I like decorations. I like lights.
I don't like decorations. I think that's a hassle. But I do love this song, I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas. You ever heard that one?
I have, yes. I think we have it here. But I don't think that would classify as anyone's best Christmas carol.
That's the best Christmas carol.
Oh, there's two. One from the Temptations, Silent Night, when everybody sings Merry Christmas, you know, that song. And Donny Hathaway, This Christmas. Those are the two.
Donny, what about Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You?
Man.
No?
Overrated.
James Brown, Funky Christmas?
Oh, that's good.
What about...
Santa Claus goes straight to the ghetto. That's
Christmas in Hollis?
Run DMC, Christmas in Hollis.
Does that count?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Christmas is in the name.
It's
Yeah.
Christmas time
It's
in
in Die
Hollis,
Hard.
Queens.
It's in Hollis, Dan. You don't like Hollis?
I just don't think of Christmas carols being hip hop. I don't think of Christmas carols.
To Americas.
Racist.
I want a hippopotamus.
I wonder why I don't associate Christmas carols
Only
with hip hop.
Hippopotamus will do. I don't want a doll, no dinky tinker toy.
I want a hippopotamus to play with and enjoy. I want a
You just associate it with hippo pop.
This can't be the best of Christmas carols.
It's a fun song. Have you ever seen the video? She just got a music video.
We know the answer. It's DJ Laz's Un Bonito Sabanero. Period.
It is pretty good.
Springsteen, Santa Claus is coming to town. Second Springsteen reference of the show.
See me then.
Not
can
here,
you
buddy.
Get,
No. Jackson 5.
Can you guys get for me? Are we allowed to play what it is that Tony is referencing
Bonito
there?
Sabanero? Of course.
that
DJ
we
Laz
can,
edition, yeah.
I think
don't know the
We need
DJ
the Big
Laz.
Booty Bass
you
mix,
think
though.
locally that
Wait, there's a remix?
The Big Booty Bass remix,
No,
the Triple B
there isn't.
remix. Yeah.
No, there isn't.
They only
Bass?
played that one on Power 96, though. Cynthia, if she's out there, she knows.
Bass.
Let's see if we can find that. Speaking of Miami, incidentally, I want to tell people again that today is Give Miami Day. Let's go to givemiamiday.org because among the people that I would give to, all of this is tax deductible. Pelican Harbor, if you're looking for charities and don't know which ones to choose, the Pelican Harbor Seabird Station does good work. The Miami Waterkeeper does good work. And Guitars Over Guns does good work if you're looking to raise money for some people locally here who are trying to help in good and pure ways. If you have some disposable income and want to help Miamians, givemiamiday.org is where you go.
I don't have any like Christmas decorations in my apartment currently, but when I picture putting up Christmas decorations, Dan, it's the Sunday after Thanksgiving. I'm watching a NFC North game on Fox. It's like Bears Vikings, and the is on the TV.
Is that a Christmas
while
carol?
I'm like, yes.
When they do the like sleigh
Yes.
bells
Oh my God.
version?
When they do the graphics with like the little ornaments and like the little Fraser fur.
Yeah. And the robot comes out with a Santa hat on.
Cletus.
And he does like a spin move.
Oh, it's the greatest thing. This is how you get ready for the season.
Oh, wow. Oh.
3 Americans.
The reason I think I'm allowed to put up a Christmas tree before Thanksgiving is because I believe we're getting football weather this weekend. I believe it's going to be snowing in Lambeau. And once you throw the snow on Lambeau's field, I'm allowed to put up my Christmas tree. Am I not? Like, isn't that...
Frozen tundra is the...
I mean...
That's the go-ahead?
And it's 49ers Packers, too. Big game. Big game with the snow, Dad.
People keep saying this isn't a good NFL weekend. I disagree. We got a lot of good matchups this week.
Harbaugh Bowl?
We got the Harbaugh Monday night. I can't wait.
Can you guys tell me, because I want to go through here, what is happening in a couple of different locker rooms, and I'm curious, specifically how it is that you react to what's happening in the 76er locker room. So, in the locker room of the New York Giants, Daniel Jones has been benched, and there are a couple of people in that locker room who are mad at their own organization for benching Daniel Jones, messing with his money on top of, making a decision that might not be a football decision to save some money on Daniel Jones and his injury risk. And also, Thibodeau for them had said, or is it Thibodeau? I always get those wrong. I always put an H in there with both the coach in New York and the defensive end in New York.
I think Thibodeau's a defensive end.
No, Thibodeau's the coach.
I think they're both Thibodeau, if I'm not mistaken. But it's not Thibs, it's Tibbs, and I think it's supposed to be pronounced Thibodeau.
No, they pronounce it Thibodeau, but much like Christian Pulisic, Thibodeau does not pronounce his name right. They've Anglicized it because people reading it in English as TH makes a th sound, but it's a French name. TH is a t sound. It's Thibodeau, correctly pronounced, but he doesn't pronounce it that way, so we go along with things and call him Thibodeau.
Okay, so the Giants' defensive end Thibodeau, though, did say before the season, said it to anybody who would listen, put his name on it. We should have paid Saquon before we paid Daniel Jones. And I want to ask you, those financial issues that players are thinking about and talking about, before I get to the 76ers, how problematic is it? I know it's normal, but how problematic is it that your players are looking at the organization with distrust on how they spend money? And this is a unique kind of transaction in that sport. Hey, we're destroying our bodies for you, company that pays us, and we don't agree with how it is you're spending the money. We thought that Saquon should have been paid before Daniel Jones. You let Saquon go, you made us worth, and now because you paid Daniel Jones, you're trying to save money on Daniel Jones. How much of an infection is all of that?
No, I mean, it's detrimental, massively detrimental to morale, but I think the more interesting thing is that they would frame it that way. Usually players would say, we shouldn't have let Saquon go. It ain't up to me to figure out the money parts. Like, we should not have let him go, was usually how they say it. For them to say it specifically, hey, you should have paid him before you paid that guy. Now you're a little bit of, within the locker room culture, pocket watching. And so that speaks.
Isn't everybody, though?
They don't usually talk like that. Usually they tend to avoid counting other people's money or how they got their money or when they got their money. It's usually, like I said, it's usually expressed as, we should have never let Saquon go. And now implicit in that is like, we should have paid him before we paid the other guy. But you don't say that part out loud. You just let people connect the dots from there. So that is weird. But then it's also weird that, having said that, I'm still going to stick up for Daniel Jones when he gets benched, because that's kind of shiesty what's happening to him too. It is, I mean, it's not great, and it definitely does not feed belief in the people running this thing, right? I don't trust management, and maybe I don't even trust my coach either.
To make matters worse, too, your QB2, who you benched Daniel Jones, you have Drew Lock. All that situation is, he has incentives in his contract of playing time. If he plays a certain amount of percentage of games, if he's got a certain amount of yards, touchdowns, all these different things, he makes money. So it's like, we're not even going to QB2. We're going to QB3, who we swore you would never see again. And now the return. Please save us, Tommy DeVito.
I'm not sure about this because I'm still learning in these circumstances all the time. I think shiesty is a slur. I don't think that that's something that we should be saying. I don't know about Irish goodbye. I do know that that's a stereotype, but I will learn with the audience as we go and get corrected wherever it is that I need to be corrected on that, because when I heard that to my ear, it feels like a mistake I've made before, that you're not supposed to say that.
It's also what we call ski mask now, too.
Which is, again, used because people rob people when you wear one of those.
I understand. I'm just telling you, I don't know. I'm not even saying that I know that. I think it. So the other locker room I wanted to talk to you about, though, more interesting, is the 76ers locker room. They are now 2-12, and they lose again last night. Paul George hurts his knee, and Joel Embiid is mad and feels betrayed about the fact that his 32nd meeting with Maxey was reported as a leak, as being called out by Maxey. And he's portraying it as this is a 30-second conversation. And the part that he's angry about is not Maxey calling him out. It's that it leaked. It's the same thing that Draymond Green and the Warriors were mad about, where all of a sudden the video of Poole getting punched is everywhere. These are communities that believe in us against them. And when stuff gets out of the locker room, it ends up with Joel Embiid saying, quote, whoever leaked that is a real piece of shit. It's bad to call someone a piece of shit, but when you put the real in front of it, a real piece of shit,
damn,
you're extra angry. Like, it's not enough to call that person a piece of shit. You want it known on the front end that that's a real piece of shit. Yeah. It ain't one of those fake little dog poops you put somewhere. And my thoughts here, Amin, are that locker room is in a distrustful place. And Joel Embiid is the kind of superstar that if you do not properly appreciate what it is that he's doing for you, it feels like he could get into his feelings about, well, why don't I go do this somewhere where they will appreciate what I'm doing for them instead of where it is that I'm presently breaking my body?
Yeah, it just seems like an escalation of things that have been happening since the summertime. All these things are building up on Joel Embiid. But Dan, like, I feel him, man. I'm with him on this. Look, I wear two hats. One hat is this job that I'm doing right here. And yes, I like to hear that story, and that gives us content for the week, and content on Oddball, and then NBA radio. So many places I can go and talk about this. But the other hat I wear as a basketball guy, I'm disgusted. The idea we barely got out of that room. We barely got out of that room, and someone's already, ooh, you'll never believe what happened. Like, it disgusts me. And this is the part where, again, I've been told in the past, you can never come back because the way you do things, I'm a dinosaur. Because I would literally round up everybody in the room and be like, phones out. I need to, right now, I won't say anything. Once we get, everyone who's in the room is in the room right now, phones out. We're going to find out who leaked that shit. Because there is, it's not just about sacrosanctness or sacred ground or whatever. This is our internal issues as we are internally trying to fix it. And someone's out there thinking this is a good thing to tell anybody on the outside, let alone a newsbreaker. So him being irate like that, in the same way that Draymond was irate about and the worst of words, and you guys were like, well, that's not, I'm like, I'm telling you, this thing only works if we all believe that we're together on this. If someone is running around, running their mouth about what happens here, it all falls apart. And you know what the irony is, Dan? It reminds me of a different story, completely different story. The Adam Schefter, Ray Lewis to FAU report, right? That was instantly like kiboshed by a bunch of people. Can I see that one? Or is that one a little...
It's sacrosanct is the other word you were looking for, by the way.
Kibosh.
I was doing a cinephobe reference when I did that one.
That's right.
But anyways...
What's cinephobe?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. It is the podcast where Zach Harper and I review movies that are poorly rated on Rotten Tomatoes and try to ascertain whether they're accurately rated. Maybe they didn't get a fair shake. It's Cinephobe. It's produced by Anthony Mays. You get it wherever you get podcasts. This week, Batman Forever, starring Tommy Lee Jones as Harvey Dent and Jim Carrey as the Riddler. And
it's the one with the nipples in the bat suit,
yes,
right?
Val Kilmer as Batman. But I digress.
Tommy Lee Jones was Harvey Dent in that one?
He was Two-Face.
Yes. Two-Face.
He was Two-Face, yeah. And trust me, his rendering a little bit different from Aaron Eckhart's. You definitely want to catch this episode this week.
Is that where you soured on Jack Nicholson? In that movie,
no.
the way that or where he played the Joker, how he played the Joker.
He did it great. He did a good job in that movie. I'm more about like the run of Jack Nicholson movies from like 1990, everything from Wolf on, basically. Like, come on, guys.
As good as it gets?
It's Jack Nicholson, like, with a midlife crisis or whatever. Like, everything.
Midlife crisis?
Whatever it was.
With a tick, with some sort of...
Anger management?
Oh,
Sneaky good.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah, like OCD.
That's right, an OCD tick.
I digress. So, Ray Lewis, right? This report comes out. It's immediately squashed, right? But it's squashed in a way of saying, look, there's been no direct communication between Lewis and FAU, meaning maybe it went through some intermediaries, maybe some feelers were out in whatever direction. But again, the fact that someone is like, hey, FAU's asking about Ray Lewis. Oh, word, okay. Adam, you'll never believe what happened. Like, just shut the F up for 5 seconds. Let life happen. There's no value for you to be the first to tell Adam Schefter this. You think Adam Schefter is going to get you a job one day because of, this guy is a lead candidate to be a head coach or whatever? Like, it's so dumb that people are selling out their people, their quote-unquote friends, for what? For fleeting...
Are you allowed to do what Amin would do in this situation as an HR violation?
Absolutely not.
Am I allowed to say, hey, everybody, your phones? Like what?
No.
But Amin is basically saying that what he wants in the locker room environment is an employment violation.
This is I treated this with the utmost supreme level of alertness. Like, this is our top priority, is whatever happens in here. You like it, you don't like it, you hate someone, whatever, it stays in here.
You can't have distrust.
You can't have distrust. And there's one thing to say, oh man, coach is terrible, I don't like coach, and it's been leaking that the guys don't like coach. Like, okay. It's another thing when like, hey guys, we're having a meeting about this stuff that we're trying to fix. And literally within 30 minutes of the meeting being over, it's already out. The details, because Shams had the meeting happened, and Maxey stood up and held and beat accountable in front of everybody. Sam Amick and David Aldridge had the direct quotes. So either multiple people were talking or someone was talking to multiple people. That is such a gross violation of the privacy of what we're doing here, and counterproductive. That's the other thing. It is counter to what we're trying to do here. You are trying to actively destroy and cause division. So not only is someone just a chatty Cathy, but you might be an op. You might be working against what we're trying to do here. I don't want you in my locker room. If I found out, if I were Nick Nurse and I found out if it was a staffer, I'm firing them. If it's a player, I'm trading or cutting them.
You're good on Chatty Cathy.
Well, thank you.
Is he? Why is it Chatty Cathy as opposed to Chatty Charles or Charlene?
I'm seeing that Chatty Cathy was a doll back in the day. I guess it was a talkative doll.
You're spelling Cathy with a C in this situation, huh?
Amin is a child of the David Stern regime, though, right? Like, I mean, do you feel like if Stern was still doing it, that you would have these kind of things? Would he make a phone call? Like, how would that work with David Stern?
Stern can't control an individual locker room.
Yeah, this is a Sixers problem. This isn't an NBA problem, so it would be fine. Stern is more some of the other things, like what we talked about with Izzy yesterday. You're going to fine a guy for saying no homo, which is radioactive in sense, the same amount of a player who shoved a media member. Like, no way, dude. Like, that's not how that works. A 3-game suspension for physically accosting someone. And again, we're not going to get into the specifics of why he did it. I said it on the day it happened. I was like, look, I get it. I understand. And he understands too. He said, I don't care what the consequences are, meaning I understand I'm going to get in trouble for doing this, but I'm going to do it. So we're all good on that. But the fact that the fine is the same as saying words that, as Izzy pointed out,
it's not exactly the same because Embiid lost $1 million in salary
because he
as
got
well.
suspended 3 games, but 3 games I didn't feel like was enough. So there's things like that. There are a bunch of things. My big thing is whenever NBA players question whether the refs are on the take, David Stern would put them under the ground. And we've been getting slaps on the wrist, a $35,000 fine. Bullshit. You just said everything we're doing here is fake. How are we supposed to present a product to the masses that is believable if the people in it are saying it's fake, it's not real? And you might, I was just angry. Well, shit. Be angry, say some other shit. Don't say that.
So he wouldn't say anything about the newsbreakers getting news and all these things. That would be just kind of like states' issues, teams' issues. Like, you guys deal with it.
I'll tell you, the only time they were upset was when the draft, people were tweeting out the draft picks before they happened because now you're messing up our TV product. But in terms of the Sixers, no, that's not. David Stern would be like, yo, you got to get your house in order. But, this all goes back to, Dan, something that I want to talk about earlier, which was Nick Wright saying, 3s are why the ratings are bad. And I said, no, it's not 3s, and it's not load management, and it's not wokeness or whatever. The NBA at its core has a marketing problem. We allow stupid-ass ideas to take hold and be like, that's our reputation. Instead of controlling it, instead of like Stern did, keep it under wraps. We create our narrative. We call our narrative. We let anyone just say anything. So everyone's like, Kawhi Leonard doesn't want to play. And meanwhile, we find out what? This dude's knee is made out of Doritos. He's not playing because he's hurt. Joel Embiid is not playing because he's hurt, not because he doesn't feel like playing. But we allow this thing, and we allow Stephen A. Smith, and we allow Shaq and Kenny to say these things with certainty. And so all of this erodes confidence in the product.
That is really interesting what he is saying there, because I do believe that if I just wander around and ask people who aren't even sports fans, but also sports fans, hey, are athletes lazy and don't actually care that much in the NBA? The fact that that stereotype has gotten out there when it's asinine, like that nobody can play at that level just sort of like flippantly. Those people have to care crazy or they're going to lose their money because somebody's going to take everything that they've dreamt of. Like the idea that load management has become something that we are now allowed to assign the stereotype of black guy lazy because it's always the black guy. Black guy lazy. That has taken hold. My God, is that not just offensive, wildly inaccurate and disrespectful to how hard it is to do what those people do to be great. You're so right on the idea of the narrative getting grabbed and becoming something that becomes or feels like fact or perception, and then it becomes reality, even though it's just baked in stereotype.
And the irony of it all is the only player that doesn't care a little bit is Jokic.
He never gets accused of that. He never gets accused of not caring.
But I mean, we've even sort of participated in this when we fat shame Zion Williamson but like we're talking about work ethic and laziness and he won't, stop eating whatever. And
why is Jimmy not playing?
Right. We've done it.
I think there's a difference between making jokes about someone's weight and making hard analysis about like, well, clearly you don't give a shit. Like, I think there's a difference there. And like, I speak for myself. I've made a lot of Zion weight jokes, but I've made a lot of Dan weight jokes. Like, that's what I do. I'm a jerk in that way. But when stories come out about Zion not taking his diet seriously, like reported stories, like, that's different, right?
But there's a reported story here that Embiid just doesn't show up on time to things.
Sure. But, like, that's not the same as he doesn't want to play, which is what many of the accusations are. And to me, so one of the things is, like I said, Nick Wright came out and said, it's because they shoot too many threes. And I said, man, Nick, I could sit down with you and watch a game from 2003. I guarantee you're going to find it offensive to watch. Not offensive, offensive.
I don't think, though, it's any one of those things. I think
it's the marketing.
But it can be all of those things. Like, it doesn't have to be any one at the top of the list. It can be all of them because numbers are down.
The numbers are down, but it's not because of those things. The fact that we allow those things to be the explanation is my issue. That's why I say we have a marketing problem, right? Dude, the NBA is fantastic. I love this game. This was how we sold our game in the 80s and 90s. Like, I love it. And now it's like this weird thing where everyone's trying to be too smart. I'm like, I'm like, look, man, it ain't hard. Like, if we sell our thing with joy, it's joyful. The NBA Cup is a great example of this. Look, they let us all know, hey, man, this thing is real and it's serious and we don't want to hear a bunch of stuff about how this is fake and it's made up. And so we all bought in, and guess what's happening? We're getting great games in NBA Cup games. And so it's becoming a thing. And I believe that applies to everything across the sport.